So today we have a special edition collabo. We have Decipher Podcast with Rictor and Mappy. What's up, guys?
What's up?
What up?
And my name is Anna, and I love Boba, and I love chatting with the homies. And this is Boba Talk.
It's so good, it's so good. Feels so good to me. It's so good, it's so good.
Mappy and Rictor, just talk about what Decipher Podcast is real quick.
Oh, snap. Decipher Podcast is a podcast / show that we started kind of having a lot of deep dance nerd talks, and we decided to kind of just record them. And that's kind of the birth of what Decipher is, breaking things down.
All things
Dope.
dance related. Yeah.
All things dance related.
Dope. Yes. And so basically I asked both of them, I met both of them on Funkonometry a long time ago. And Rictor has a long, extensive background as a b-boy. And as you know, at Boba Talk to Mappy, he was my first episode. He's been teaching a long time and freestyling in the Bay Area. So this is a special edition where we're going to be talking about urban choreo. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing, because I have been getting asked questions about it through students who are writing their thesis, right? The first thing I want to ask you guys is, do you consider it a style? Do you consider it a culture? What do you think?
All right, I'll go first. I guess I got more questions than I understand it. I can't act like I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
So from my understanding, it sounds like it is a movement. I wouldn't say like it's a culture. I'd say it's more of a movement to me.
Mm-hmm.
Movement in terms of like a bunch of people moving the same ideal, but not like a movement like a move.
Yeah, not like a physical. No, you don't mean physical movement. Yeah.
Yeah. My take on it is I think urban choreo is more of a style or a branch of hip hop, an extension of it. We've had an episode on Decipher Podcast. We talked about what the difference is or what is urban choreo. In my opinion, I think it's just another branch of hip hop. I know there's a lot of people that is having a hard time wrapping their head around the word urban and trying to explain what urban is. I think we just need to find a better name for it, for a different style. I think from someone that's not coming from someone that's not purely hip hop, we were looking for a term or a word that can describe our style, especially if we're not dancing to hip hop music. There's a lot of teams out there right now that's not purely hip hop. There might be dancing to R&B music or contemporary music or instrumentals that are not under the hip hop genre.
Right.
So I think it's just a sub genre of hip hop dance. Just like if you were a popper and you have all these little sub genres of styles. So yeah.
Like with any culture, right? There's rock, then there's classic rock,
Alternative
rock,
yeah.
Heavy metal, right? So I think hip hop is starting to slowly do that. You have like in hip hop, you got rap, underground rap, mumble rap. I think dance in its essence and sense is doing the same thing. It's real early and it is just really weird always in the beginning. It's like, what is that?
So it's a little pocket of people that their preference is to choreograph a certain way, but they're still kind of like their lineage came from hip hop somehow, right? Yeah. Okay, but here's the thing. So one of the people a few people that I have been talking to consider that there is a foundation to this urban choreo.
Oh,
they're
wow.
saying that the way that kids are picking styles or picking, like, sometimes they'll take popping moves, sometimes they'll take locking moves, sometimes they'll take like house moves and they'll put it in their choreography, sometimes they'll put crump moves. They consider that to be the foundation of urban choreo.
Right.
And so that was one of the things I had to ask myself, because people have asked me, and I'm like, I don't consider that foundation though. I mean, you know, like when I'm thinking of like popping, like there's like the contraction, you know, and if it's b-boying, if there's rocking, but to take other moves from other dances, can that be a foundation? Because if I talk to kids that are 30 and younger, they say yes. They're very open and they say yes.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's someone older, like 40 and older, they go no.
Yeah.
What do you think?
My personal take on it is like, let's take it back to the origins of dance, right? Let's say ballet, right? So ballet is one of the original forms of dance in a technical sense, right? So when ballet came out and then birthed a subgenre called jazz came out, I don't know if ballet was like, hey, jazz, why are you taking my pirouettes and why are you taking my chaîné turns and my techniques, right? And then when jazz came out, contemporary started to, what is contemporary, right? People were saying like, what is that style? That's jazz, right? That's kind of like jazz. And then modern came out and it's like even more weird.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, what is modern? But it was drawing techniques from ballet, right? All the core strength, all the turns, all the pointing the feet, all that stuff, right? I'm sorry if I'm like sounding ignorant with all this, like
it's okay.
that style of dance, but you know, you guys what I mean. I think what's happening right now with this the hip hop and urban scene, we're still trying to learn to accept what that is, and I think we are in the growing pains that we're trying to understand what urban is, and there's a lot of kids that, from what I'm hearing and from what I'm hearing in the community, they're like, I'm urban, I'm not hip hop, I'm urban, right? Yeah. And so that to me is where I see the problem is they're not being open to accepting that urban is coming from hip hop. Without hip hop,
right,
foundation and style of dance, there will be no urban. Just like if there's no hip hop with all the other styles of dance, so
there's no crump. You can't have crump without hip hop,
right?
Even though they don't look alike, right?
And there's a big debate about crump and hip hop. Is crump hip hop or is it just crump, right? So, in terms of urban, I think we just, first of all, we need to maybe learn to understand it more, or maybe accept it as what it is and what it's kind of evolving to, and it's becoming a subgenre of hip hop dance. You know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, put your swim trunks on, get your bikinis on. We're about to get deep. I think we talked about this in a different form and fashion about all styles being not all styles, it's more mixed styles. And so I think that kind of translates over from the freestyle realm where it's choreo, but it's not. Urban is basically mixed martial arts, right? So you're mixing everything.
Good point.
So in a sense, urban's not really a style. No one says, "Oh, I do MMA." It's like, okay, that's cool, but that could be a billion different things, right? So it's a blanket term, but it's not actually a thing. You don't say, "I'm taking MMA class." You take boxing and you take jujitsu, right? So it's like on the dance side, you're taking popping, you're taking locking,
house,
and then you can wrap it up and call it urban.
Yeah, at choreography, yeah.
But it's not a thing specifically. It's
a
bunch of different ingredients that make that thing.
Yeah.
So,
see, and that's where we're at, right? But here's the thing, okay? So what I understood from Arnell is that the kids, I call them kids, but they're our friends, that, you know, they're the ones that are traveling. They're getting these gigs more. They're getting more opportunities. So Sean Evaristo, Keone and Mari, some of the Kinjas, Pack Crews got together, and I think they were just tired of being bashed in their classes and getting called out, that they did like a live stream, and they were the ones that dropped the term and said, hey guys, we're not doing hip hop, we're doing urban choreo, right? They created this term as a response, you know, kind of like reacted to the OGs going, you're not hip hop, you know? But then again, like for us, the rest of us that are not traveling, that are not teaching internationally, I guess my question is, okay, well, why did we have to change it to that term? Can't we still respect the hip hop roots and still go, yeah, you know, the kids, the choreographers can, you know, do this evolution and continue without changing the whole and making up another term? Why do we have to make a new category?
Right. So I guess I was telling Mappy this earlier. To me, this is choreography's version of what we saw in b-boying in the 90s. You're either a b-boy or you're a breakdancer. You're not, you know what I mean? Like that was like a thing where if you called yourself a breakdancer, you're not a b-boy. You weren't.
Oh, really? Why?
Again, it all turns back to the same thing. We talked about this too. Media, right? So Crazy Legs was pushing that b-boy versus breakdancer thing because he thought the media made a term breakdancer, and breakdancer wasn't hip hop. B-boy and b-boying was hip hop. So that you should not ever claim you're a breakdancer. And I feel that this is choreography's version of that. We're finally getting to that. But I also think that Crazy Legs is right, where it's the media, right? And so it's the same thing here. Urban, if we want to geek out a little, urban is a term that radio used to put together rap, hip hop, or R&B, crossover music.
Yeah.
That's how they could make a station called urban for radio.
To categorize them.
Yeah, so it's technically a media term. So actually, full circle, it's the same thing based upon media. People don't even probably realize they're using a term for media. From white collars jobs that are made this term just to put something together. But it's just very interesting that I don't care that they call it that, but I just think they don't understand what they're actually claiming. You're claiming
boom. Yes, boom, boom.
You're claiming a white man's term from the corporate world who actually doesn't understand culture, hip hop, or even what you're trying to do. So do what you want to do, but to me, call it something else, because actually it's again, full circle, like with the b-boying. It's like, I was one of those dudes that was like, I don't care, I'm gonna call myself a breakdancer, because I was young too during that time. So I get it. It's really weird now that I'm the older cat on the other side of the fence. But I understand, because when it's the media, when it's an outsider giving you this label, maybe you don't want to claim it because it's not from within the community itself.
Right. I get that. So on the outside with the TV shows like World of Dance and So You Think You Can Dance, they're looking at it and they have a platform and they name it something and then it catches on. And I guess our choreographers, our choreographer friends adopted that, you know, just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we're going to call ourselves.
I think maybe also out of respect to the hip hop community, that they didn't want to, I don't know, disrespect the word hip hop.
Right.
Because, you know, if you claim you're hip hop, then you should be doing all these hip hop things, right?
Right.
You need to be a b-boy, you need to be breaking, you know, you need to be popping and all that.
You need to be battling,
Battling, you need to be in the freestyle. You know, you're living the culture, because when you say hip hop, it's obviously it's a lifestyle, right? It's not just a dance. So I know urban word that's been around for as long as we know. And not necessarily the Sean, the Kinjas created this word. I've heard this word, and we've made flyers. On my flyers, it was Urban Groove, remember? Way back in the day. It's just because, you know, for me, I didn't want to disrespect hip hop. Like, I know hip hop. I understand it. I've learned it. But to my core, I'm not necessarily a b-boy or anything like that, so I didn't want to disrespect it. So, yeah.
Okay, so then I'm thinking about this too. What do you think? Because I'm getting a lot of these essays from Asian American studies, right? From Asian American dancers, Asian American ethnic studies classes. Do you think that it would be, I don't know, an issue that this movement of urban choreography is really Asian American? Like it's Asian dancers, Asian choreographers that are branding this, and you know what I'm saying?
Hmm. I've
And
never.
I, yeah, because I'll give you an example. You know, when Sean Evaristo, he mentioned to me that when he was teaching overseas, that one of the, I think it was Willie Ninja came up to him and said, "Where are you guys coming from?" And Sean was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "All you Asian dancers, where are you coming from? We see more of you now, more and more at these workshops." And I get what he's saying. You know, usually it's OG pioneers, you know, teaching hip hop overseas, like, you know, Pop and P, Junior Boogaloo, Mr. Wiggles, and then all of a sudden there's all these like company dancers, cookie dancers, you know, right? And Sean was like, oh yeah, we come from California, and you know, we have like these events, we have competitions, you know, and he mentioned, you know, all the competitions up and down California. And Willie Ninja was just like, oh, that's interesting. Do you think that that would pose a threat to, like, I guess, yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of looking at it in a negative way. Like if I I I get the curiosity why he would wonder where all the Asians are coming from, and all of a
yeah,
sudden started taking dance classes. I mean, it's true. Like, you know, in the beginning of the dance community, it's mostly like what Filipino Americans in the choreo scene, right?
yeah,
You see the other, you know, Asians coming in, Chinese, Koreans.
Vietnamese, yeah,
I feel that's weird to me. Like, I feel like people should embrace that. People should be like, oh wow, that's cool that more people are getting into dance or hip hop or urban or whatever you want to call it. Um, you know, it shouldn't be like, where are you guys coming from? Now what? You know, that's weird to me.
It's a slippery slope
Yeah.
because you don't want people to start saying how they dance is Asian dancing. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Real careful here. Going back to just like when I started b-boying, East Coast cats would always say that too. Like, there's help. Oh, you breakdance? That's crazy because it's usually just a bunch of Filipinos or whatever, right? At least in California, but in New York or Jersey or even like in Florida, it wasn't Asians, it wasn't Filipinos, or you know what I mean? It wasn't Islanders. It was Puerto Ricans and black people, right? And so white people. So I think being in California, we're so used to seeing a lot of Asians and Islanders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our scene was comprised of a lot of those kind of ethnicities. So us being in this state, in this circle, in this community, it makes sense, and it's, I guess we're just like, yeah. But from the outside, I guess looking in, it's just what we see, but magnified, right? Like, oh, where did all these guys come from? It's like, we've been here.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
all been here, right?
that's true. Yeah,
I'm the outcast here in California in a sense. I'm the tall, non-Asian Islander dude, but it's no big deal to me, right? And I don't feel like if I'm dancing like with these guys that I'm dancing like an Asian person or something. So
Yeah.
yeah,
it just gets a little slippery, it gets a little
yeah,
weird.
yeah. And hip hop to me has always been diverse, right? Same for you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's so strange.
That's strange.
Yeah, I've just been getting, I think at least maybe 3 or 4 people that have mentioned it's only for either just black people, or I get these interviews that are going, oh, Asian Americans are contributing and we should recognize those contributions. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, yeah, but I mean, everyone does, you know, like, I'm like, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I even think like Bollywood, excuse me, Bollywood is like making its way into the hip hop scene
Oh, yeah?
the scene. We're slowly starting to see a little bit of it. There's choreographers in the East Coast that are fusing Bollywood with choreography, and
Oh,
teams
nice.
are doing it out there.
Out here too.
Out here, yeah. And in my hip hop classes, I see a lot more Indian people than ever because of Bollywood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so then we're starting to see more cultures embracing this, you know, and I feel like the elders of the hip hop community shouldn't be questioning it in that sense. They should be embracing it. They should be like, that's awesome.
If you could describe it, what would you, or how would you describe, I guess, the urban choreography style? Like, what would you say to someone if they ask, well, what is that?
Ooh. I think for me, you touched on it a little bit. If you were to describe urban, it would be derived from certain moves derived from hip hop and all the other styles that like popping, house, crumping, all that stuff, and even jazz or contemporary or modern. They're all in this blanket name that we're trying to call urban right now, because we're doing turns, technical turns. There's movement on the floor that's reminiscent to b-boying, but it could be reminiscent to floor work from a modern dance. You know, I think that like even certain grooves that we do, it's not necessarily like a b-boy top rock or house move. It's just all in, you know, evolved from it. So that's for me how I would describe it.
For me, I think throughout the years in general, dance has mimicked what the music scene is doing, right? So with that said, to me, urban choreography is the mumble rap of dance or mumble rap of choreography.
Okay.
Meaning this, when you were rapping back in the day, right? When you were doing hip hop dance back in the day, you had to have the like clean, like it's structured and foundation was like the main point, right? Nowadays, not so much. You still do it, but it's loose. You don't have to be completely true to form, right? Same thing with mumble rap. You don't have to spit crazy bars and punchlines, but you could have a cadence and the flow. So in today's rap game with like rapping and singing and all that, right? Feel loose. It's free form. And I feel this is the same with the dance. So for me, urban choreography is the mumble rap of the dance game right now or whatever. Meaning it has loose rules. It's open. It's open for a lot of interpretation, but it's still built upon hip hop.
Yeah.
Mumble rap. So to me, urban choreography is a way of them trying to say hip hop, but not say hip hop, and then include choreography. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. So you're saying less structured. So does that mean like I don't have to have real technique? I'm just doing whatever? What do you mean by less structured?
Yeah, I think it's that spectrum is wide, but it could be as loose as I don't care, or I'm only gonna hit a little bit. I don't need to hit.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So it's that open, it's that wide. Because mumble rap really could be words, it could be no words.
Yeah.
It could just be mumbling. It could just be cadences. It could just be keys and notes you're trying to hit. So I think it's the same thing. Mumble rap, just people take it negatively when they hear it. But honestly, today, there's so much rap style compared to back in the day rap. Everyone rapped the same. There's like 5 different rap styles. Today, there's like 1 billion of them, right? So I think it's the same thing. And I think it's something that older cats have trouble embracing. Like, I don't like mumble rap. I don't know what they're saying. Same thing with like choreo, right? Like he's mixing all this stuff up. I don't even see like his form. I don't even see his foundation. So it's like, to me, it's a lot of the same, but if you start letting that go and you just understand they're doing them and they don't want as many rules and as much structure, that's fine too.
Yeah. Okay. So then I get this too. I get comments like, oh, well, they're just too lazy. They're just too lazy to learn like real foundation. Or the other argument is, oh, they're just trying to win competitions. That's why they're adding like lyrical in it, or, you know, doing things without the groove. I heard somebody say the reason why they got rid of the groove is because as a team of 40 or 60, not everyone could be clean. So, you know, really that's why it looks like what it looks like today. Do you think that the evolution came because teams were trying to win competitions? Why do you think? Richter said it's because of the music. What do you think, Mappy?
I 100% agree with Rick with the music.
Mm.
Maybe some teams were seeing what works in competitions, and they might have seen a team do a dubstep routine, and that encompasses like popping, and then another competition would have a team that's using more contemporary movements, and now they're just mixing them all together, and they're trying to figure out a winning formula in their sets. So, but I think definitely for me it's the music, but I could see that happening though with teams, because that's the trend in the dance community right now. When when a team wins, a lot of people kind of take that formula.
Oh, yeah.
And especially with, certain teams that may not be able to push their creativities further, so they'll take what the winning formula is from this team and that team and this team, and they'll just they'll think in their head they're making a superset, right? That's going to encompass all these like winning elements of a routine, but ultimately it's just being copycats,
Ooh, and that's another good question, right? So copycatting, like there's a difference between being inspired by something and then just straight up like biting it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what would you consider, right? Because some of these teams, and it goes on, like they don't even know. Like you'll see another 3 billion teams look like Coryell cookies or, look like GRV, but they don't see that they're using the same formula. Like to them, they're just going, oh yeah, I just made a boy's piece, a girl's piece, a open, a close, but they look like whatever they're inspired by. What would be your advice for, I guess, newer teams that may look up to these, popular, viral teams, but, not to completely, it's okay to be inspired, but not to bite?
For me, it's like, again, this is all built from hip hop. So some of these answers are in hip hop. So look to hip hop for the answers in terms of inspiration. Find out how someone took an old record and made a new beat out of it. Watch how Kanye West, when he first came out, took some Diana Ross stuff and flipped it, but it's not Diana Ross. You know what I mean? Just find the ways that people in hip hop, because that's what hip hop was based upon. Taking things, using things, and then making it your own. So that's why I'm not mad at the urban thing, but to be inspired and to not bite, that's built into hip hop culture. So if you're making your own culture and you don't have these kind of rules or this self-policing kind of mechanism, you're going to have a lot of copycats. You're going to have a lot of these things. And these are things that these leaders of the urban choreography movement need to worry and think about.
Yeah.
Big picture. Like, hey, what self-policing things are you making? Like biting is bad back in the day. Biting will get you stomped out, beat up, made fun of, or whatever, but it doesn't have to be that extreme, but you need to make these things so people can respect the art and learn to be inspired and creative on their own, even if they take something. But that's just my take on it.
And I think also, like, just to kind of add to what Rictor's saying, we consume dance so quickly nowadays. So a lot of kids, on most of the videos that we consume now is on Instagram. And before it was YouTube, right? And before that it was DVDs, and before that it was VHS tapes. So now kids are consuming videos like nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't give 100% blame on the kids for biting, but like I agree with Rick that it needs to be policed, and someone needs to be like, okay, that kind of looks like Keone, that kind of looks like David Lim, blah, 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 right? But because it's subconscious, like they're picking up these moves that everyone else is doing, and now they're incorporating it in their moves because like, oh, okay, that's probably normal because 4 other choreographers did it in their video. So now it's okay to use it in our set, right?
That makes sense.
But before we didn't have access to any of this. So all the moves that we were doing were new to us, right? And the only time we'd see the other techniques or moves or choreo it was at the shows, or if we got a hold of a VHS tape, or you know. But now, since we're consuming all these videos and dances all the time, now we're like, oh, that's a cool move. Let me take that. And from that, it just, everyone's using the same moves.
I want to just touch upon something that you guys are kind of mentioning that will kind of go hand in hand with this as well, and it's lineage, right? So if you actually go and you're taking these classes from Pat Cruz, and you're not just watching his videos, but you're actually going there and you're learning from them, you're going to look like it. Right. And it's more acceptable to look like it, right? When you b-boyed with a crew and they all kind of looked alike, it's because y'all were like getting down together. It's osmosis, stuff, right? So I think lineage is important, and it's something that is forgotten because it's so easily and accessible right here that you know, don't do so many here. Maybe go and actually take the class for help. And if you like because you took 50 Sean Evaristo classes, I can't believe you took classes from that dude. It's in you, right?
Yeah. Inspired by him.
And I think lineage is important. Like doing the time, spending the time, the energy, vibing, learning, trying to make a relationship with these people, and you could see down the line, this guy learned from this guy and this guy and this guy, and it's a tree. It's a family, right? It's all community, and that keeps it more together as community. So I just want to throw that out there, that I think lineage is forgotten, and it's really important.
Some of the kids are, I guess, not wanting to discuss it because they're probably more scared of the confrontation of it. But for me, it's just like, I'm just asking questions. Like, I just want to know what's up, kind of a thing, you know?
In your experience, are they ultra defensive about it?
Who? Which side?
The urban side. Like, when you ask questions or when you're trying to understand, you know, are they super defensive? Like, why are you asking, or why are you open our?
I guess anxious is a better word. Like, if and it's not in voice calls, it's mostly in comments. You know, I've been doing these Boba Talks, or you know, if I just post like a Facebook post, I'll see the anxiety in the comments. You know, the one comment was like, why are we still talking about this? You know, we should just let both sides should just, it is what it is, and both sides should just stop, just accept that it is what it is. You know?
I don't know what it is. You know? And what's crazy to me is it's like, we love this shit, right?
Yeah.
If we love this shit, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss it. People are huge fans of like the Lakers, and they can talk at work for hours about it, and they don't play a lick of basketball, right?
Yeah.
We love it. So to me, trying not to talk about it is just showing how truly rooted you are in this battle or conversation or whatever you want to call it. I love this shit. I'm down to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm down to understand and learn because I don't know.
Yeah. And then also confusion, like B-Girl Logan, you know, Logan's a master at both. And when I had asked her, she was like, oh, well, at first she was beginning to say that here's hip hop over here and then urban choreo over here. And she was trying to kind of like bridge the two. And then she kind of stopped herself and she was like, you know what? Scratch that. You're like, I don't even know. She was like, I don't know what it is. I can't tell you that it's a bridge, you know? Because she's really like, she started to, I could tell that she was trying to regurgitate whatever, you know, was out there about urban choreo. Like what is being preached is that it's a culture, blah, blah, blah. But I guess all of a sudden she just changed her mind. She was like, you know what? Never mind. I don't know what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's all movement. It's all dance.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying to figure out how to create these categories and these genres. But if you love dance, if you love movement, it shouldn't be that much of an issue for you. If you appreciate good movement, good dancing, amazing dancing, whatever, you'll just accept it, you know? So for me, I think everybody should just respect each other and not like elders should be like, oh, there's a new form, there's a new dance is starting to form. What is that? Let me be inquisitive and find out more about it. As opposed to what is that? Because there's a lot of new dance forms like Saucin and Turfin. Those are new styles that just came out. And then for the newer generation, they should still respect everything that where it's coming from, you know, like, and that not just goes with hip hop, every style, because that's where we at now. Just like music that we hear now encompasses like jazz music, electronic music, rhythm and blues, classical. The theory behind it, it's all foundation from, you know, original music, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, just really respecting each other and like trying to understand instead of being kind of like closed off, and really just having a healthy discussion about it. And I think whoever's being like, why are we still talking about it? It should be discussed more, because obviously we're in that phase where we're trying to figure out what it is, you know? So
Right. And I get that. Like, I mean, that's also hip hop value, is always a student, you know, just kind of like looking at things, trying to learn from it, trying to understand it on a deeper level. So I get that. I mean, and that's how we're built too. If you're a teacher and something's coming up that's new, you're like, oh, let me wrap my mind around that, you know?
yeah. Like I hit the folks. He was like, "What the fuck is hit the folks?"
I was like, "You call people?" I literally was like, "You calling people now? They don't text."
Hey, should I be calling a police?
And he's like, "No, hit the folks."
You're stupid. You're stupid. Wait. So, okay. Now I remember my question. Okay. So another guy, you know, and when he wrote me an essay. I had a guy, I've been back and forth writing him. He wrote me anonymously. He doesn't want to tell me his identity, but he said it was important that if the new school urban choreo people are going to form this identity, please pay respect also to the pioneers of hip hop. And after reading all of his essay, I mean, that was the question for me. I was like, well, is it because with us forming this, or with urban choreo forming this, the cultural perspectives, the roots, all of that will be hurt, you know, all of that will be like dismissed, you know, like kind of like what Rictor had said, like, oh yeah, you know, kids going, oh, I know what that is. Oh, that's not tutting, that's urban choreo, you know? And then all of a sudden, all of those histories are gone, right? So we were just chatting back and forth, but this question popped in my head. What's the cultural, I guess, environment of urban choreo? Like, what is, you know, like, I get it, like with voguing, it was because, you know, the gays needed a place to express themselves, the balls and everything, you know, they're really, it wasn't cool to be gay, and you needed a place to be yourself, you know. And like with b-boying, you know, it came from street gang life, and they were in crews and just, you know, battling. I get it, you know. I'm not sure about popping and locking completely, but I'm sure they have their own stories and history. What do you think it is for urban choreo? What is it really that these kids are trying to say? What is it what is it that is creating this? Yeah.
Well, for me, this is why I don't think it's its own thing, and I don't think they can say it's a culture. For me, culture changes lives. It makes big impacts, positive and negative, right? Hip hop culture definitely changed like my life, right? So it's changed people's lives. But is urban choreography changing lives in a sense, and not just financially or monetarily? Like, how is it actually helping? Is it, oh, well, now Asian kids have self-esteem, or, you know what I mean? Like what is the actual benefit of it being a culture if it's really a culture? A culture is a movement. It's like you said, b-boys in New York were joining b-boy crews so they didn't start fighting anymore and stabbing each other, right? And it's the same on the West Coast. That's why it's like West Coast styles, like popping and locking. The gang thing, it's like they'd rather just pop and lock and then try to settle it at the barbecue like that instead of, you know, with some guns like that. So again, what is the outlet for these kids that are urban and part of the urban movement? And if you want to call it a culture, what is this culture doing? What ideals is it teaching? What values is it passing down to these other people to not copy or to be yourself or to cut your hair halfway and make the other part frizzy, like whatever it is. We need to like it, if you're going to call it a culture, it needs to have values, not just being its own exiled thing. And that's why I think it's mumble rap, or it's an offset of hip hop. It's not
offshoot. Yeah, Mappy.
Well, first, I agree with Rick about it's not necessarily a culture just yet because we haven't defined it yet, right? So it's still a genre, it's an offshoot. But if I was to try to understand where the culture is coming from, it's coming from the dance teams. It's coming from the studio hip hop dancers. It's coming from our community. Because if there was a culture, you would say like dance is a culture, that dance is a lifestyle. If you were to ask any of community dancers, we all living a lifestyle, right? So if I was to try to understand where they're coming from as far as culture or lifestyle, I would say it's coming from the dance community. It's the teams that, you know, trying to teach you how to be a team player, how to be disciplined, how to show up to practice, how to stay committed, how to strive for excellence and all that stuff. But honestly, it's still yet to be defined. Like, you know, I think it's still a genre, it's still a style, not yet a culture, unless we really, really figure out what it is. But if I were to think about where it's rooted from, or if people are trying to say culture, I would say it's in the dance team environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely stems from a dance team environment, but has not developed its values, has not developed styles, or I guess a way to define if it has a style, etc. And so I get it. The whole point being that it's just too new. It's just too new. It just came out. Yeah. Okay.
I hate saying this, but you know, me too. It's a movement. But it has a core value at its base, right? So to me, it's a movement. They're just getting it started, and you know, I hope to hear more about it. And as an elder in the game, I openly welcome anybody to come talk to me and explain it to me. I'm all ears. Again, I'm not the old head that hates mumble rap because it ain't hip hop with punchlines and bars. Like, you know, same thing. Like, let me know. Like, you shouldn't be afraid to talk to OGs about it, even if it's going to be different, right?
Yeah. I think that's us. You know, we really value OGs. We are valued to look up to them, to pay respect to them, and not to just be like, oh, they don't want to hear what we have to say. Yeah. All right. Well, we're signing out. And even though we don't have Boba, guys, Boba with friends is Boba well spent.
Yeah. It's on the podcast, Super Bad Brothers.
Yeah.
Rock.
Peace out.